You want to apply to the University of Oxford or another university in the UK, and you want to submit an amazing personal statement. A personal statement that tells the reader why you should study this subject. Last year I was in exactly the same situation. I applied to the University of Oxford and I got the offer. So in this video I'm going to talk about the content, the structure and the process of writing a personal statement. Hello everyone, I'm Yuva. This video is about how to write a personal statement. I applied for law, but the technique I used can be used for every subject. So before we dive deeper into the matter, let's first think about what a personal statement is about. A personal statement is about you. That's why it's called personal. And the personal statement is also about the subject you want to study. So in a sense, a personal statement is a statement that tells the reader why you should study this subject. There should be a main theme running through your personal statement. What is a theme? So imagine you are invited to a Halloween party. Obviously, the theme is Halloween. So you may want to dress as a ghost or a witch or something else spooky. And in your personal statement, the main theme is a link. A link between your former experience, that is what you've done before, and the subject that you want to study. So your task is to establish a link between what you've done before and the subject you want to study. But how can you do that? Certainly, you have done many things before. Perhaps you have studied at school or at university. Perhaps you have done a job, or you have read a book or an article and there was something that you found interesting. And somehow you are now here. You got to this point where you want to study that particular subject. So there must be something in what you've done before that led to this point, that led to your wish to study this subject. And that's exactly your task. Your task is to filter out the key points in your former experience that led to your wish to study this subject and to present them concisely. Of course, the personal statement is different for everyone. We're different people, we've done different things in life, we are interested in different things. So the content of the personal statement totally depends on you. What I'm going to do is provide you with a structure for your personal statement, let's say a framework. And what you can do then is fill your own content in it. Fill it with a personal experience. Or in Halloween terms, I provide you with the skeleton and you put the flesh on it to make it human. So let's go on with the structure. Your personal statement should be divided into several paragraphs. And in the first paragraph, you want to start with a first sentence. And with this sentence, you want to make a compelling entry. This sentence should answer the question, why? Why are you passionate about your subject? After that first sentence, you may want to go on with a trigger. That is, what triggered your interest in this subject? So perhaps there is an interesting book you read, or an article, or perhaps you have had a personal experience that triggered your interest in the subject. For example, I read a paper about data protection law and I found that really interesting. And that's why I mentioned this paper in my first paragraph, because it really stimulated my interest in law. And what you can then do is engage with the material. This means you can discuss what you read or what you experienced. This shows the reader that you engage with the material, that you think critically about it, and that you have a personal opinion about it. For example, the paper I read was about data protection in the age of artificial intelligence. And when I was reading this paper, a few questions emerged that I found quite crucial regarding this topic. So in a few sentences, I talked about these questions I had, and I talked about how I think they could be resolved. This is something you could do. You're passionate about your subject, and certainly you have some questions about it, but certainly you also have an opinion about certain things. So I recommend discussing crucial points and presenting your opinion to these points in a few sentences. Let's go on with the next paragraphs. How many paragraphs you write essentially depends on your content and how you structure your ideas. You could write only a few paragraphs that are longer, or you can write several paragraphs that are shorter. This is totally dependent on how you structure your content. So let's think about what should be contained in these paragraphs. These paragraphs should mainly be about the link between what you've done before and the subject you want to study. So, as I said, you certainly have studied several things at school or at university. Perhaps you've had a job, perhaps you have had personal experience, and your task is now to describe these former experiences and to establish a link to the subject you want to study. So one thing you should do is explain your reader how these former experiences led to your wish to study this subject. And the second thing you should do is telling the reader how the skills you acquired due to your former experiences in academia or in your job or in something totally different are useful for the subject you want to study. And to tell the reader that you need to know which skills are required for your subject. So maybe in the subject you apply for, critical thinking is important, or maybe you need analytical skills or writing skills or whatever. Think about how what you've done before has equipped you with the skills that are necessary to study this subject, that are necessary to overcome the challenges in this subject. For example, I once studied rhetoric, and in rhetoric I learned a lot about persuasive speech and how to construct an argument. When I was writing my personal statement, I started to think about that, and I realized that, okay, knowing how to construct an argument may be very useful in law, because in law you have to argue a lot. So do you see what I mean? That's exactly the link I'm talking about. So I'd recommend picking out a few crucial points of your former experience and tell the reader first how this led to your wish to study this subject and how it equipped you with the skills that are necessary to succeed in your subject. In your final paragraph, you want to repeat your two main points. And your two main points are why you want to study this subject and what skills you have that help you tackle the challenges in the subject. And taken together, these 2 points tell the reader why you should study the subject. Let's go on with the process of writing a personal statement. Writing a personal statement can be hard because it requires a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of editing. But it's also really rewarding when you get a result that you are happy with. I'd recommend 2 steps. So what you first want to do is collect information. That means you want to think about the experience you have made and what you have done and how this led to your wish to study the subject and how it equipped you with the skills to study your subject. When writing my personal statement, I found it quite helpful making a list of that. So whenever I thought about, okay, what did I study before? What have I done before? Then I wrote that down, and then I thought about, okay, how has this influenced my path? In which way has this impacted my wish to study law? And which skills did I develop that are useful for studying law? This is the first thing you want to think about. And when you've done that and gathered your material, you want to start writing your paragraphs. And I can really recommend doing that consistently. So whenever you have the time, sit down, write a paragraph, and edit it over and over again until you are happy with the result. In the process of writing your personal statement, I can highly recommend having a notebook with you, because whenever you have an idea or what you could include or what you could change, you can write it down and won't forget it. I found that quite useful because it allowed me to put down my ideas and it helped me not to forget them and to include them in my personal statement when I continued working on it. That's it. These are my tips for your personal statement. I hope this helps and I wish you fun writing it. See ya!